Sevilla are a club that won 7 seasons out of the Spanish top flight since the 33-34 season. However, they have only won one top division league title in all of that time. They have won 5 Spanish Cups, and they are the kings of the Europa League, having won a record 7 UEFA Cups / Europa Leagues. This season, however, things are not going well. After finishing 12th in the league last season and only qualifying for the Champions League by virtue of winning the Europa League, this season, as I record this, they're currently sat in 16th place in the league. They're only out of the relegation zone on goal difference. And they crashed out of the Champions League group stage, finishing rock bottom of the group with just 2 points. And even more, as I record this, they've just sacked their manager after only 9 weeks in charge. The aim for this rebuild is to get Sevilla back up towards the top of the table, regularly challenging and qualifying for the Champions League through their league position, and hopefully picking up another Copa del Rey. As with all these rebuilds, we are starting this in real world mode, so there are 6 players to come in, including a 37-year-old Sergio Ramos. And there's a lot of players to go out, most of which are actually going out on permanent deals. In fact, a hell of a lot of players going out. So there's going to be a lot of movement in the squad between now and the start of the season. The board expectation for the first season is to reach the knockout stages of the Champions League, to qualify for the Champions League through the league, and to reach the latter stage of the Copa del Rey, which means we need to make it to the quarter-final. In terms of transfers for season 1, we've not done anything that hadn't already been done, so no incomings, no outgoings. Tactic-wise, we're looking to start with a 4-2-3-1 in season 1, just to see where we go with that. It may well be something that we change as we go on, but I think certainly for season 1, that's the one that fits us best. And we've had an interesting start to the season. So, opening day of the league season, we went away to Valencia and came away with a 3-2 victory. We were 3-0 up after 50 minutes. They pulled a couple of goals back late on just to make it a bit more tense towards the end. We then went away to play the UEFA Super Cup and got demolished by Man City, coming away with a 6-0 defeat. But we did bounce back to beat Cadiz 6-2 in the league in our opening home game of the season. Unfortunately, we then went away to Atletico Madrid, and despite taking a very early lead, just collapsed in the second half. As you can see, we had 4 players pick up injuries, and Atletico ran out 3-1 winners in the end. So it does mean after 3 games, we're currently sat in 6th with 6 points from those 3 games. We've been drawn against Arsenal, Red Star and Union Berlin. So I'd like to think we've got a pretty decent chance of making it into the knockout stages, and hopefully qualifying at least 2nd place in that group. And we have won the European South American Club Challenge, beating Independiente del Valle on penalties. So let's simulate the rest of season 1 and see what happens. So we ended the first season in 5th. We scored a lot of goals. We conceded a lot of goals as well. We won 18 games out of our 38 and finished with 65 points. Obviously, we finished behind Real Sociedad because they had a better head-to-head against us. But as we said, we were looking to qualify for the Champions League. That was the aim the board set us as well. So we've managed to achieve that in season 1. Champions League, we ended up finishing 2nd, joint on points with Arsenal at the top of the table. We won 4, so we beat Red Star, Arsenal and Union at home, and we beat Red Star away from home, and we lost away at Union and away at Arsenal as well. But we ended up with 12 points, finishing 2nd, qualifying for the knockout stages. Again, what the board were looking for in this first season. In the round of 16, we got annihilated by Inter Milan. We won the first leg 3-1, and then lost the second leg 7-0. And I'm guessing a lot of their goals came down the left-hand side of our team, just looking at the ratings for the left back and for Sergio Ramos in the centre of defence, who got hauled off. Yeah, I mean, we were 3-1 up after the first leg, and then they did it pretty quickly because they were up 4-3 on aggregate at half-time in the second leg, but then they got another 4 goals in the first half of the second half. Lautaro Martinez with a hat-trick, and we just collapsed and exited the competition. And we managed to make it all the way to the Copa del Rey final and then lost on penalties to Barcelona. We took an early lead, they equalised, we went straight back in front, they equalised pretty much straight away. So it was 2-2 after 17 minutes. It went to extra time. Gavi put them in front in the 111th minute. Lucas Ocampos equalised in the 117th minute. And then we lost 5-3 on penalties. It's a bit of a kick in the teeth to get all that way to then lose out in the final. But hopefully with this, I mean, for a first season, we made the knockout stage of the Champions League. We made the final of the Copa del Rey. We finished in the top 5 and qualified for the Champions League. It's a good starting point to then move on for season 2. The summer before season 2 saw a lot of players leave on free transfers at the end of the contracts. Lucas Ocampos, Ivan Rakitic, Lorenzo Lucchino, Fernando, and we also sent Quique Salas out on loan. As well as that, Jesus Navas and Sergio Ramos both retired at the end of season 1. And we didn't have an awful lot of cash to spend, so we've made 3 signings. We've signed Lucas Vasquez to operate potentially as a replacement for Jesus Navas, bit of experience on that right hand side. We do also have Gonzalo Montiel back off his loan spell at Nottingham Forest, who didn't turn it into a permanent deal. We then picked up Tommy Doyle from Man City, pretty cheap transfer just to add some extra depth in the centre of midfield. And then the one position we felt we were the weakest in, we've improved our goalkeeper by signing Andre Lunin from Real Madrid. And hopefully that'll help us concede less goals during season 2. We're going to stick with the 4-2-3-1 because we had a pretty decent first season, and we've started season 2 pretty well as well. Opening day of the season, 5-0 victory at home against Rayo Vallecano. We then went away to Alaves and pulled level, and then went ahead before they pulled back level before the end and came away with a 2-2 draw. We were then at home to Granada with a comfortable 3-1 victory. And then away at Las Palmas, another comfortable 3-0 victory. Youssef Nesri has started the season well, scored in every league game so far. The one obvious thing, looking at the fixtures we've got coming ahead in the Champions League, I feel like we've been pretty hard done to. We've got Man City, Newcastle, Man United and Dortmund, as well as Lazio. We might be struggling to make it into the knockout stages here. But let's go ahead and simulate season 2 and see if we can make it into the knockout stages. And so season 2 was okay. We improved on our league position. We finished 4th, beating out Real Sociedad for that 4th spot, qualified for the Champions League again. Got more points than we did last season as well. Youssef Nesri was top goal scorer in the league with 32, highest average rating as well. Oscar had the most assists, Suso the 3rd most assists. Really, attacking wise, we've done pretty well. We must have done pretty well defensively as well, because we've ended up with a plus 40 goal difference at the end of the season. Champions League, we only made it through in 18th place in the league phase. Obviously, like we said, we had a pretty difficult run of games. We managed to beat Maccabi Tel Aviv, Newcastle and Ajax. We drew with Lazio and Shakhtar, which meant we lost to Dortmund, Man United and Man City, which meant we went into the knockout playoff round, where we got hammered by Atletico Madrid. Basically, we drew the first leg 2-2, lost the second leg 5-1 to go out 7-3 on aggregate, and our one goal was a consolation goal in injury time, and our goalkeeper looks like he's had an absolute stinker. And the Copa del Rey, we were knocked out in the quarterfinal 2-0 by Real Madrid. We matched them for most of the game in terms of not conceding. We had no shots on target in the whole game. They got 2 late goals. In the end, a pretty comfortable victory for them. And that ended our hopes at the quarterfinal stage. As far as the budgets for season 3 are concerned, we've got 25 million in the bank. Transfer-wise, we've got 127,000 wage budget available. So there's room to improve the squad. Whether we're ever going to be able to make Sevilla a title challenging team in these 5 seasons is debatable. So there's not an awful lot we need to do to improve the squad to maintain the goal of qualifying for the Champions League and hopefully winning a Copa del Rey. We're almost there, if you know what I mean, in terms of losing the final in the first season. We've qualified for the Champions League in both of the first 2 seasons of the save. So there's room in the budgets to improve the squad for what we need to do. So season 3 saw quite a bit of ins and outs in the transfer window. Lulo left at the end of his contract. Adria Pedrosa went to Sociedad for 26 million. Lunin went to Al Ittihad for 40 million. VR went to Milan for 14 million. Rafa Mir went to Forest. Kike Salas went to Wolves. We started our incomings by picking up Neymar on a free transfer once his contract at Al Hilal had ended. We then added Carlos Augusto as a replacement for Pedrosa at left back. We then added Albert Gronbeek to add some quality in the centre of midfield. With Lunin going, we needed a new goalkeeper, so we picked up Nico Mantel from RB Salzburg. We added Frendrup to add more quality and depth in the centre of midfield again. And we picked up Facundo Torres to add some quality, more than likely off the right-hand side, and with Neymar playing off the left. Tactics-wise, we just can keep the same 4-2-3-1. It's gone pretty well in the opening 2 seasons. And the league season hasn't started as well. We drew the opening day of the season away at Alaves. We basically threw it away. We were 4-2 up. They scored in the 87th and then the 97th minute to pick up a point. Unfortunately, Neymar picked up an injury in that game. We won 2-0 at home to Celta for our opening home game of the season. Pretty decent performance, pretty decent result. We then went away to Real Madrid and had managed to equalise before they basically went up the other end and scored. And Neymar picked up yet another injury. And then a decent victory over Real Sociedad, who we've both finished 4th once, 5th once in the opening 2 seasons of this save. So that's a big result to start the season off as well. As far as the league phase of the Champions League is concerned this season, I think it's been a bit kinder to us, although we do still have Bayern, Newcastle and Inter. We have been drawing against Celtic, Rangers, Ferencváros, so hopefully we can be challenging to finish in that top 8 to make it straight through to the round of 16. So let's go ahead and simulate season 3 and see what happens. So I think we have to say season 3 was a bit of a disappointment. We've ended up finishing 5th in the league, which is only good enough for a Europa League spot. Although we weren't that far off where we were points-wise last season. We've won 22 games this season as well. But most of the season we were up in 4th and then we just dropped down to 5th in the last sort of quarter, probably even 5th of the season. Copa del Rey was a complete write-off. We went out in the first round 3-3. We lost on penalties against Burgos. Just a completely unacceptable performance. Champions League, we didn't actually end up doing much better than we did last season. We finished in 15th position. We beat Rangers, we beat Inter, we beat Ajax, we beat Celtic. We drew with Feyenoord, and in the end we lost to Ferencváros, Newcastle and Bayern. It meant we went into the playoff round, where we came away 5-2 victors on aggregate against Stuttgart, before we were knocked out 4-3 on aggregate in the round of 16 by Arsenal. I still think we are maybe a bit low on goals. And Nesri with 20, Facundo Torres with 19, Oscar with 18, Neymar with 16. We could probably do with a few more goals next season, so it might be something we look at. Maybe bringing in another striker to partner in Nesri. As far as the budgets are concerned for next season, we've got 25 million to spend transfer-wise. We've got a lot of money in the wage budget. We've got 334,000 available to spend. So there's plenty of money to get a couple of players in to try and improve this squad. Going into season 4, transfer-wise, not an awful lot happened. We sold Tommy Doyle for a massive profit on what we bought him for to Brentford. And in terms of the incomings, signed Drelson as a centre-half from Tottenham, just to try and improve our quality there. We picked up Julian Araujo just to give us some more depth at right back. And we picked Sune Engel Jonsson just to give us a holding midfield player. And we are sticking with the 4-2-3-1. Basically, Jonsson came in as a replacement for Tommy Doyle in that defensive midfield role. So far this season, we've had a pretty decent start. I mean, opening day of the season, we went away to Barcelona and came away with a 3-2 victory with Albert Grombic popping up with the winner off the bench. We then beat Betis at home with a late goal from Oscar. And then we went away to Real Sociedad and hammered them 3-0 with Oscar popping up with another couple of goals. And then we went to Real Madrid and just didn't really play very well. We ended up only losing 3-2. But unfortunately, Oscar picked up a pretty bad injury in that game to go along with the fact that Neymar had torn his hamstring in pre-season training. So we're going to be out without two of our most talented creative players for a chunk of time. Hopefully that won't cost us too much, but let's find out as we simulate Season 4. And so on the whole, again, a bit of a better season than last season. Back up to 4th in the league. Actually 1 point less than we managed last season. But we've qualified for the Champions League again through the league. We must have shared the goals around a lot more this season, because I think we scored 82 in the league, and our leading goal scorer was En-Nesyri with 13, and we don't have anyone in any of the top of the player stats there. Unfortunately, the Copa del Rey was as big a disaster as last season. We went out in the first round again. We went out 2-1 to Racing Santander. Even a late Neymar goal couldn't get us back into the tie, and again another disappointment. The Europa League, however, was a lot better. We didn't make it into the top 8, so we qualified in 12th out of the league phase, which saw us go into the round of 16, which saw us go into the knockout playoff round, where we hammered Molde 10-0 on aggregate, where we hammered Molde 14-2 on aggregate, including a 10-0 demolishment in the second leg. We then played Sporting in the round of 16, and after winning the first leg 2-0, we went through 4-3 on aggregate before we knocked out Fenerbahce 3-0 in the quarter-final on aggregate. Unfortunately, the semi-finals was a step too far for us. We knocked out by Tottenham 5-1, and we couldn't repeat the history of Sevilla by adding the Europa League. Tottenham then went on to beat Aston Villa on penalties in the final. But we did definitely sort of shared the goals around a bit. En-Nesyri was 25, Facundo Torres was 17, Neymar was 16, Grombic with 13. I think if we're going to take this a step forward in any of these competitions, then we're going to need to score more goals. But we've got one season left in this rebuild. 22 million in the transfer budget, 123,000 in the wage budget. Let's see what we can do in Season 5. So what we didn't say when we were looking at Season 4 is that we did make 2 signings in January. We signed Evan Nielsen from Porto, and we signed Sebastian Biselli from Tottenham, which really helped in the second half of last season. We also sold Eric Lamela and Federico Gattoni back to clubs in Argentina. In the summer between Season 4 and Season 5, we lost Marcao and Loic Bade to Saudi Arabian clubs at the end of the contracts. En-Nesyri went to Saudi Arabia as well for 67 million, rising to 73 million, which gave us money to spend. We brought in some free transfers at the end of their contract. So we brought in Flavian Enzo Boyomo from Real Valladolid just to give us some depth in the centre of defence. We brought in Raul Bellanova to give us some options on the right-hand side of the pitch as well. We picked up Aruna Sangante as an option at centre-half as well. And then we spent some money. So we brought Boulay Dia in from Salernitana, who can play up front or can play in any of the 3 positions behind the front. We brought in João Neves from Benfica for a lot of money, so we're looking for him to kind of hit the ground running pretty quickly. And we also brought in Jorge de Frutos on a free transfer after he was released by Rayo Vallecano, just to add some depth behind Facundo Torres in that wide right role. Tactics-wise, we've gone to the 4-3-3. just to try and get a bit more control in games. And we've had a interesting start to the season. We started with a pretty comfortable victory away at Las Palmas. We started with a pretty comfortable victory at home to Las Palmas. Facundo Torres with 1, Neymar with 2. We then went away to Almeria and conceded a 95th minute equaliser to end up only getting a point from the game. We beat Getafe 1-0 at home with Evan Nielsen picking up the winner. And then we went away to Barcelona and basically threw the game away. Although they took an early lead, we were 2-1 up at half-time. Vitor Roque equalised. And then Ansu Fati popped up in the 94th minute to secure the 3 points for them. We're back in the Champions League again this season, and hopefully we can at least make it past the first round of the Copa del Rey, which is where we've gone out in each of the last 2 seasons there. So let's go ahead and simulate the 5th and final season of this rebuild and see what we can achieve. And there we have it, a pretty disappointing end to the rebuild with Season 5, although I think that might be our highest points total of the rebuild, but we finished in 5th and only qualified for the Europa League. Neymar was our leading goal scorer in the league, but didn't make it onto the top of the player stats. Champions League, we finished 15th in the league phase, so we went into the knockout playoff round, where we got knocked out 2-1 on aggregate by Barcelona. And the Copa del Rey, we did get past the first round this season. We were knocked out in the 4th round, though, by 2nd division Malaga, 2-1. Just not a good performance at all. We did score more goals by the looks of it. Facundo Torres with 22, Evan Nielsen with 20, Neymar with 18, João Neves popping up with 13 in his opening season, Dia with 11, despite only starting 8 games, and Gronbeek with 10. In the end, a bit of a so-so rebuild. We achieved our aim of having Sevilla back up at the top end of the table, challenging for the qualification for the Champions League through the league rather than winning the Europa League. After finishing 12th last season in real life and being down in 16th this season, the lowest we've finished is in 5th. We've missed out on the Champions League twice after season 2. We've missed out on the Champions League twice. We've missed out on qualifying for the Champions League twice after season 2 and after season 5 there. Despite making it to the final of the Copa del Rey in the first season and losing on penalties to Barcelona, we didn't come close to winning the Cup again. I think the first we got after that was the quarter-final against Real Madrid and then the 4th round against Malaga in that last season. That was one of the big aims for the rebuild as well, and we didn't achieve that. Overall though, 5th, 4th, 5th, 4th, 5th, fairly consistent, always around about the same total of points as well. We didn't really have much money to spend apart from the summer where we sold everyone to Saudi Arabia. So I think we did well to get what we achieved. But could it have been better? Yeah, we could have been much better in Europe and in the Copa del Rey as well. And that's the end of this one. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.